It was a quiet Sunday morning. The smell of freshly brewed coffee filled my kitchen sunlight, spilling across the counter like warm honey. For a moment, life felt calm, steady. Then my phone rang, and in a single sentence, everything I thought I knew about family cracked open. Your mum blocked my card. I can't even buy a closet. The voice on the other end was sharp, desperate Nora's voice. My daughter-in-law. Her words sliced through the air, so full of accusation that I could almost feel the poison behind them. I froze, mug still in hand, wondering if I'd heard her right. 10 minutes later, my front door burst open. David. My only son. The boy I raised with love and discipline, the same boy who once ran to me with scraped knees, stormed in like a hurricane. His eyes were blazing. "Mum, give me the damn password. Now!" Before I could even speak, his hand came down hard across my face. The sound echoed through the kitchen louder than any thunder I'd ever heard. I stumbled back, stunned more by the betrayal than the pain. My son. My own child. The same hands that used to cling to mine now struck me in anger. For a long second, I couldn't breathe. The kitchen felt colder. Everything I had built over 67 years, decades of hard work, love and sacrifice, suddenly felt fragile like a porcelain cup slipping from my grasp. I'm Emma, a widow, a seamstress, and a mother who believed that love and kindness could fix almost anything. I've spent my whole life sewing dresses for other people's celebrations, stitching happiness into fabric while quietly patching the tears in my own. After my husband Richard passed away, I thought the hardest part of my life was behind me. But that morning proved I was wrong. I looked at David's face so full of fury and realized something terrible had taken root. His eyes didn't belong to the boy I raised. They belonged to a man who had been twisted by someone else's words. I whispered his name, but he wouldn't listen. Every sentence that came out of his mouth had Nora's fingerprints on it. Her dramatics, her manipulation, her calculated helplessness. She had cried to him, said I'd locked her out of their account, that I didn't trust her, that I was trying to ruin their life together. He believed her. I remember thinking how strange it is that trust can vanish in a heartbeat. You spend decades building it, and all it takes is one lie from the wrong person to burn it down. That day didn't just leave me with a bruise on my cheek. It left me with a truth I could no longer ignore. My family was under attack, and the enemy was already inside my home. When the door slammed behind David, I sank into the kitchen chair. The coffee still warm but undrinkable. My reflection stared back from the window, an old woman, hands, trembling eyes wet, not from pain, but disbelief. I had raised my son to be kind, honest, respectful. I taught him to earn what he wanted, to never take from others what wasn't his. And yet here I was, accused, humiliated, struck, because I dared to protect what Richard and I spent a lifetime saving. That was the day I learned a painful lesson. Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it walks right through your front door, calls you mum, and demands your password. And even though I didn't know it yet, that slap was only the beginning of a war. I never thought I'd have to fight a war for my dignity, my savings, and my son's soul. After that awful morning, the house felt too quiet. I could still hear the echo of the slammed door, long after David had gone. The smell of coffee turned bitter in the air, and I sat there replaying everything that led us here. Life used to be simple. My late husband Richard was a builder, strong hands, soft heart. He believed in honest work and small joys. We didn't have much, but we built a good life with what we had. When he passed away from a sudden heart attack 2 years ago, I thought the hardest part was learning how to live alone. What I didn't know was that grief can make you easy to fool. After his death, I discovered Richard had been quietly saving more than I ever realized. When I met with the lawyer, he explained that between his life insurance and secret savings, there was nearly $120,000. For a woman who had counted every grocery coupon and every penny of thread that felt like a small fortune, I told myself it was our safety net. I could finally stop worrying about rent, medical bills, and rainy days. Then came Nora. She was beautiful in that polished way that makes people trust her too quickly. Big eyes, perfect manners, always ready to help.
Am I
When
speaking to
David
the owner
brought
of
her
the
home,
house?
she called
I'm sorry,
me Sweet
who is
Mummy
this?
with such warmth that my heart melted. I used to think I was lucky. My son had found a kind, loving woman who treated me like family. I was wrong.
I know what you did!
She was the perfect daughter-in-law.
How could you
everyone
lie straight
dreams
to my
of.
face?
She'd stop by with homemade cookies and compliments. She'd ask about my sewing business. Listen to my stories about Richard, even cry when I mentioned missing him. She knew exactly what to say. People like her always do. Over time, I noticed small shifts. She started making decisions for everyone. What color curtains I should buy, which church I should attend, how I should handle my finances. She never demanded, she suggested softly with that honeyed voice that makes it sound like she's only trying to help. When they moved into their new apartment, she'd say things like, "Sweet Mummy, you shouldn't work so hard. Let us help you. Maybe just lend me your card for a few essentials until David's next paycheck." It sounded harmless. What kind of mother wouldn't help her son and his wife get started? So I said yes. I told myself
Did
it
you
was
just throw
temporary,
dirt
just
at
a
me?
small favor. That's how manipulation always begins.
Maybe.
Slow, careful,
You look
dressed
too
up
serious.
as kindness. Looking back, I realized Nora understood me better than I understood myself. She knew I was lonely. She knew I missed
As you
taking
can see
care
from these
of someone.
statements, the full amount is
After
accessible
losing
immediately.
Richard, I was desperate to feel
I
needed
had no
again.
idea. This
She
changes
offered
everything.
me that feeling while quietly
Emma, your
taking
home is
everything else.
absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
I
I remember
particularly
the
adore
first
the
time she
molding in
hugged
the
me tightly
entryway.
and
Oh,
whispered,
thank you, dear.
"You're
Please
the
come
best
in.
mum-in-law
Sweet
ever."
Mommy.
Her perfume was sweet and expensive. I thought it was gratitude. Now
Thank
I
you
know
so
it
much
was
for having
strategy.
me over, Emma. I brought the cookies.
When Richard was alive,
Nora,
he used to
honey,
say,
come
"Emma,
in.
never
You are
hand
too
over the
sweet.
keys
I was
to
just
your
telling
piece."
Sarah the funniest story about
But
work.
I did. Not physical keys, but something more dangerous: access. Access to my heart, my trust, and eventually my
Oh,
money.
Emma,
Nora
darling,
had slipped
could
into
I
our
possibly
family
borrow
like
your
silk,
card just for a
sliding
few
over
essentials?
glass, soft, shiny, and impossible to hold once it's in motion. She didn't raise her voice or throw tantrums. She smiled. She thanked.
This spending
she played
has to
innocent.
stop. She is
And in doing
bankrupting the
so,
family with
she
her
quietly
shopping.
rewrote
Just
the
don't
rules of our
appreciate
household
quality, Mother.
until
Nora
I barely
has
recognized
excellent
my own
taste.
place in it. I went from being the decision maker to the afterthought. Every conversation ended with "Nora thinks," or "Nora said," and David followed like a shadow. If I suggested something different, she'd laugh softly, tilt her head, and say, "Oh, sweet Mummy, you're so old-fashioned." It sounded affectionate, but it cut deep.
I canceled your card, Emma.
Bit by bit, I stopped speaking
You're going
up.
to regret crossing me.
It's funny how control doesn't always come with shouting. It often comes with smiles and sugar. Sometimes I wonder how many mothers have sat in their kitchens like I did, wondering
This
when
has
the
gone
line
on long
between
enough,
family
Mother.
and manipulation
You're just
disappeared.
jealous of her.
How dare you
It doesn't
speak to me
happen
this
in
way?
one big blow. It happens in moments so small you almost thank the person for hurting you. If I could go back, I'd tell myself to notice the signs when kindness feels rehearsed, when generosity only flows one way, when someone calls you sweet mummy, but watches your wallet instead of your eyes.
Look at this, Nora. It
By
proves
the
you've been
time I
diverting the
realized the
funds for
truth,
months.
Nora
Emma,
wasn't just my
darling,
daughter-in-law
I don't know what you're
anymore.
talking about. Are you
She
feeling
was
all
the
right?
quiet architect of my
I
downfall.
had hoped these rumors weren't true,
and she
but
was
the
just
pictures
getting
don't lie.
started.
Where did you
Helping
get
your own
these?
child never feels dangerous until one day it is. It started small. Nora came by one afternoon, her voice sweet, her eyes soft.
Please help
She
me. I
told
need
me
the
that
police
their
right
new
away.
place felt a little empty, and that David's paycheck barely covered rent and
He's outside.
groceries. Then she
Police,
said,
search
almost
warrant.
shyly,
Get on the ground now. Clear.
"Mum, could I borrow your card?" Just for a few little things for the house. She said it the way you'd ask for a teaspoon of sugar from a neighbor. I didn't even hesitate. Of course I said yes. That's what mothers do, we help them. At first the purchases seemed innocent enough. A lamp here, some curtains there. But a few weeks later, I opened my bank statement and my stomach dropped. There it was, a leather sofa for $3,000, a glass dining table for $2,500, and a list of transactions long enough to look like a small business. My heart pounded. Surely this had to be a mistake. I wanted to believe she'd misclicked or maybe used the wrong account.
Hello?
But deep down,
Am I
I knew
speaking to
better.
the owner of the house?
The next
I'm
time
sorry,
I saw
who
her,
is this?
she came over wearing a silk blouse and perfume that smelled like wealth. She smiled as if nothing was wrong. Sweet mummy. She said
I
you'll
know
love
what
the
you
new
did.
sofa. We just
How
want
could
our
you lie
home to
straight
look
to my
nice when we
face?
have babies one day. I froze at that word, baby. She knew exactly which buttons to press. She could have asked for the moon in that moment, and I might have handed her a ladder. But the bills kept growing. Luxury stores, fine dining, boutique salons, each receipt more absurd than the last. She wasn't just decorating, she was building a palace out of my savings. When I finally gathered the courage to talk to David, I hoped he'd understand. We sat at the same kitchen table, where I once taught him to count with sugar packets. I showed him the statement and said gently, "Son, I think Nora might be spending too much." He didn't even look at me. His face hardened. "Mom, my wife has good taste. What's the problem? You have money, and this is our future.
Did you just throw
Don't
dirt
you
at me?
want your son to live well?" That one
Maybe.
sentence hurt more than any slap
You look too
could.
serious.
For a long time after he left, I sat staring at the same piece of paper, the numbers swimming in front of me. I realized
As you can
that
see from these
kindness in
statements,
the
the
wrong
full amount
hands
is
can become a
accessible
weapon.
immediately.
You give from love,
I had
but
no
they
idea.
take from
This
greed, and
changes
by the time you
everything.
see the difference,
Emma,
it's
your
already
home
too
is
late.
absolutely stunning.
It's
I
strange how
particularly adore
easily
the
we
molding in the
justify small
entryway.
betrayals when
thank
they
you,
come
dear.
wrapped in
Please come
family
in.
ties.
Sweet mommy.
I told myself I was helping them build a home, not destroying my own. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself
Thank you so much
mothers
for
are
having me
supposed to
over,
give.
Emma. I brought the cookies.
But every
Nora,
lie I told
honey,
myself
come in.
became
You
a
are
thread.
too sweet. I was
She
just telling
used to
Sarah the
weave
funniest
her
story
control
about work.
tighter. Soon Nora stopped asking altogether. She'd just used the card, confident I wouldn't dare say no. I'd see her parading around with new jewelry
darling, could
designer
I possibly
bags,
borrow your
even a
card
manicure
just for a
that
few
looked like it cost
essentials?
more than my week's groceries. Every time she smiled and said thank you, it felt less like gratitude and more like mockery. And David, my
This
sweet,
spending
loyal
has to
son,
stop. She is
was slipping
bankrupting the
away.
family with her shopping.
You just don't
The more I
appreciate
tried to
quality,
reason
Mother.
with him, the further
Nora
he
has
drifted toward
excellent
her.
taste.
I began to recognize something chilling in his eyes, the same cold certainty Richard used to have when a storm was coming. Except this time, the storm was in my own living room. If you've ever been in that situation, you know how paralyzing it feels. You start questioning yourself. Maybe you are being stingy. Maybe it's your fault.
I
That's
canceled
what
your card,
manipulation
Emma.
does. It makes you
You're going
apologize
to
for
regret
being
crossing
robbed.
me.
Looking back, I wish I had spoken up sooner. I wish I had said no. But mothers like me, we're raised to endure, to forgive, to keep the family together at all
This has gone on
costs.
long enough, Mother. You're
We
just
think
jealous of
silence
her.
keeps
How
peace.
dare you speak
It
to me this
doesn't.
way?
It just feeds the fire. By the time I realized what Nora had done, I was already burning in the middle of it. That was the moment I understood something no one had ever told me. Not every family argument is about misunderstanding. Sometimes
Look at
it's
this, Nora.
a heist.
It proves you've been
and the thief
diverting the
knows
funds
you
for
love
months.
them too much to
Emma,
call it what
darling,
it is.
I don't know what you're talking
It's
about. Are
funny
you
how
feeling
the
all
truth
right?
never crashes in all at once.
I had hoped these rumors
It
weren't true,
seeps
but
in
the pictures
slow and
don't lie.
quiet, like a drip from a leaking
Where did you
faucet.
get these?
You don't notice it until the floor beneath you starts to rot. At first, I tried to convince myself that Nora's spending was normal. Every young couple wants to build a nice home, right? I told myself she was just excited. Maybe
He's
she had
outside.
a taste for finer things.
Police, search warrant. Get on the
Maybe
ground
I
now.
was the one being too cautious. That's what guilt does. It makes you find excuses for other people's greed. But then things started to feel off. Nora always looked like she'd stepped straight out of a magazine. Her nails were perfect, never chipped. She carried handbags I'd only ever seen in store windows and wore clothes that sparkled like she'd sewn gold into the fabric. Her shoes clicked on my floor like the sound of money itself. Meanwhile, my son David's job barely paid enough for their rent. Something didn't add up. One morning, while cleaning up after one of Nora's visits, I noticed a small receipt that had fallen from her purse. It was from a luxury spa downtown,
Hello?
$400 for a single facial.
Am I speaking to the owner of the house?
I stared
I'm
at
sorry,
the number
who is
for
this?
a long time. That was what I charged for making an entire wedding gown. I worked days for that kind of money, while she spent it in one afternoon on her
I
skin.
know what you did!
That was the first
How
time
could
I
you
felt
lie straight
something
to my
sharp
face?
inside me. Anger mixed with humiliation. I'd worked all my life for every penny. Richard and I had lived modestly, fixing things instead of replacing them, saving rather than showing off. And here was this woman draining my savings to live like a queen. A few days later, my neighbor Clara stopped by for coffee. She leaned in a little too close, the way people do when they have something hard to say. "Emma," she said carefully. "I saw Nora at the mall last week. She was with some friends. She said she has the perfect mother-in-law one who gives her money without asking questions. They were laughing." I froze, my hands tightening around the mug. The words hit harder than I expected. So it was true. I wasn't just being paranoid. I was being mocked. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Richard, how careful he was with money, how proud
Did you
he'd
just
be of
throw
the
dirt at me?
savings he left behind, and how disgusted he'd be to
Maybe.
see them wasted like this.
You look too serious.
By morning, my doubt had turned into determination. I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. I started going through the bank statements
As
line
you can
by
see from
line,
these statements, the full
writing
amount
down
is
every
accessible
purchase I
immediately.
didn't recognize.
I had no
Restaurants
idea.
I'd never heard
This
of,
changes
hotels in
everything.
fancy neighborhoods,
Emma, your home is
boutique furniture
absolutely
stores
stunning.
where a
Yeah.
single
I
chair
particularly
cost
adore
more
the
than my
moulding in
monthly
the
income.
entryway.
Oh, thank you,
It was
dear.
all there
Please
in
come
black
in.
and white, a story of
Sweet
excess
mommy.
written in numbers. As I flipped through each page, the pattern became clear. This
Thank
wasn't
you so much for having me over, Emma.
This
I
was a
brought the
plan.
cookies. Nora,
Every
honey,
charge
come
was
in. You are
strategic.
too sweet. I was
Every
just
little
telling
thing
Sarah
for
the
the
funniest
house,
story
a
about
step
work.
in a bigger scheme. Nora wasn't just spending money. She was constructing an image. The perfect life, the perfect home, the perfect
Emma.
victim. Me.
Darling, could I
The
possibly
more
borrow
I
your
read,
card
the
just for a
colder
few
I felt.
essentials?
It wasn't just about money anymore, it was about control. About how easily she'd manipulated my son and how deeply she'd studied me.
This
She
spending
had
has
figured
to
out
stop.
that I
She is
wouldn't confront
bankrupting
her
the
right
family
away.
with her shopping.
You just
I'd
don't
stay
appreciate
polite.
quality, Mother.
That I'd
Nora
rather
has
lose money
excellent
than lose
taste.
peace. That night, I made myself a promise. No more excuses, no more silence. If you've ever been in a similar place where kindness feels like weakness and love gets used against you, you know what I mean? It's not about the dollar amount. It's about the betrayal. About realizing that while you were busy protecting your family, someone inside it was
I
already
canceled your
tearing
card,
you
Emma.
apart.
You're going to
didn't know it
regret
yet.
crossing me.
But that was the beginning of my awakening. The moment I stopped being the generous mother-in-law and started becoming something else entirely, a woman ready to fight back.
This has gone on long enough, Mother.
There comes a
You're
point
just jealous
when
of her.
even the
How
kindest
dare you
heart
speak to me this
decides
way?
it's had enough. For me, that moment came one grey afternoon as I sat at the bank, staring at a screen full of transactions that didn't feel like mine. The clerk, an older woman with kind eyes, noticed the way my hands trembled as I explained what had been happening.
Look at
She
this,
didn't
Nora.
judge me
It
or
proves
ask
you've been
how I'd let
diverting
it
the
go
funds
on for
for
so
months.
long. Instead,
Darling,
she
I don't know
nodded
what you're
with
talking
quiet
about. Are you
understanding.
feeling all right?
The kind that only comes
I had
from
hoped
having
these rumors
seen
weren't
too
true,
many
but the
similar
pictures don't
stories.
lie.
Mrs. Bennet,
Where did you get these?
she said softly, "You're doing the right thing." It was strange, but hearing those words felt like air rushing back into my lungs. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't mean. I wasn't the villain in my own story. I was
He's
a woman
outside.
taking back what was hers.
Police, search warrant. Get on the ground now.
That day, I changed my password and cancelled the card Nora had been using. For the first time in months, I felt a small sense of control, returning fragile but real. I walked out of the bank lighter as if I'd finally closed a door I should never have left open. But peace doesn't come easy when you've taken something away from a manipulator. 2 days later, the phone rang. Nora's voice came through sugar-coated but sharp underneath. Sweet mummy, she said I went to buy a few things, but the card isn't working. Is there a problem with the bank? I could hear the tension behind her sweetness, like a lion pretending to purr. Yes,
Hello?
Nora. I replied
Am I
calmly.
speaking to the owner of the house?
I
I'm
cancelled
sorry,
that
who is
card.
this?
I think it's time for you and David to handle your own expenses. The silence that followed was thick enough to taste. When she finally
I know
spoke,
what you
her
did!
voice was colder.
How could you lie straight
How
to my
could you do
face?
this to me? To us. We're family. I tried to explain gently that family doesn't mean unlimited spending, that I'd reviewed the statements and saw where the money went: 5-star dinners, designer furniture, luxury spas. In 3 months, she had spent $25,000. That's more than some families earn in a year. But logic doesn't work on people like Nora. She started crying, wailing about betrayal and selfishness. Her voice cracked perfectly on cue, the kind of tears meant to be overheard. That evening, David showed up. His jaw was tight, his eyes full of judgment. Mum, why would you do that to her? He demanded. She's been crying all day. You hurt her feelings. She says you don't trust her anymore. I showed him the printed bank statements pages of numbers that told the story better than I ever could.
Did you just throw dirt at me?
Look, David, these aren't groceries or
Maybe.
bills. This is
You
manipulation.
look too serious.
This is theft. But he barely glanced at them before pushing the papers away. You have money. Why can't you help your
As you
only
can see from
family?
these
Dad
statements,
would
the
have
full
wanted us to
amount
be
is
happy.
accessible immediately.
Those words cut straight
I had
through
no
me.
idea. This
He
changes
used his
everything.
father's memory, the man who
Emma,
had
your
worked
home is
himself to
absolutely
exhaustion under the
stunning.
sun,
I
to
particularly
justify his
adore the
wife's
molding in the
greed.
entryway.
Oh,
I wanted to scream,
Please come in.
to shake him and make him
Sweet
see.
mommy.
But instead, I just said quietly, your father worked 40 years to save that money.
Thank you so much for having
Every
me
dollar
over, Emma. I brought
represents
the
his sweat,
cookies.
his
Nora,
sacrifice,
honey,
his love
come
for
in.
us.
You are too sweet.
It's
I
not
was
meant
just
to
telling Sarah
fund
the
someone
funniest story
else's
about
whims.
work.
He didn't stay long. He left angry, slamming the door so hard it rattled the windows. I sat there in the silence, surrounded by crumpled
Emma.
receipts and heartbroken.
Darling, could I possibly
That's how
borrow your
abuse
card
often
just for a
looks
few
when it happens
essentials?
inside families. It's not always bruises or screaming matches. Sometimes it's guilt trips, accusations, and tears that are being chased
This
that smell
spending has
like
to stop.
performance.
She is bankrupting the family with
Nora
her shopping.
didn't have to
Just
raise
don't
her
appreciate
hand.
quality, Mother.
She
Nora
raised her
has
voice,
excellent
her
taste.
manipulation, her control. Over the next few weeks, she called me daily, sometimes begging, sometimes threatening. Please, sweet mummy, I just need one more payment for the dining room. Then the next day you'll regret this. Family should stick together. Her messages became a mix of desperation and menace. Photos of expensive furniture with captions
I
like
canceled your
Robert
card,
would have
Emma.
wanted David to have this.
You're going to regret
Every
crossing me.
text was a reminder of how she twisted love into leverage. I began to understand that I wasn't just dealing with a greedy woman, I was dealing with a professional manipulator. Someone who used guilt
This
like
has
a weapon
gone on long
and
enough,
tears
Mother.
like a shield.
You're just
the emotional
jealous of her.
toll
How
was
dare
heavier
you
than the
speak
financial
to me this
one.
way?
I stopped sleeping. I started double locking my doors. Every ring of the phone made my stomach clench. If you've ever dealt with a person like that, you know the exhaustion I'm talking about. You start doubting your memory, your instincts, even your sanity. They
Look
make
at
you
this,
believe
Nora.
that saying
It proves
no
you've been
is
diverting
cruel,
the funds for
that
months.
standing up for yourself
Emma,
is betrayal.
darling, I don't know what you're
But
talking
the
about.
truth
Are you
is,
feeling all right?
boundaries aren't cruelty.
I had hoped these
they're
rumors weren't
survival.
true, but the pictures don't lie.
By the time I realized that
Where
I had
did you get
already
these?
become someone new, someone tired of being the sweet mother-in-law, the forgiving widow, the silent victim, I had drawn a line.
Please
and for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid to keep it. Sometimes the truth
He's
doesn't
outside.
hide, it repeats itself,
Police, search
hoping you'll
warrant. Get on
finally
the ground
notice
now.
the pattern. I remember sitting at my kitchen table one morning, surrounded by bills and receipts, my reading glasses slipping down my nose. The numbers no longer shocked me. I was used to them by now, but something caught my eye, a detail so small that it almost seemed meaningless. 2 identical transactions. 2 leather sofas, each $3,000, bought the same day from the same store. At first I thought maybe it was a billing error, but when I checked other statements, I found the same thing. 2 dining tables, 2 flat-screen TVs, 2 chandeliers, always in pairs. No one buys duplicates of furniture unless they have a reason. And
Hello?
Nora always had a reason, just
I
not the
speaking to
kind
the
she
owner of the
ever
house?
admitted.
I'm sorry, who is this?
That night I called Clara my neighbor, and the only person I trusted enough to share the truth with. She had a practical way of looking at things, the kind that comes from
I know what
raising
you
3
did!
kids on a nurse's salary.
How could you lie straight to my face?
I told her about the duplicate purchases, about the growing feeling that I was missing something obvious. Clara didn't even hesitate. She's flipping them, she said, selling the extras for cash. Her words hit me like a slap. It made perfect sense. Nora wasn't just spending. She was running a business using my money as her investment fund. She bought luxury items with my card, then resold them for half the price, turning my life savings into quick cash. She could pocket without leaving a paper trail. I felt sick. Not just because of the money, but because of the precision behind it. This wasn't impulse shopping. It was strategy. A calculated fraud disguised as family spending. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking of all those moments I'd defended her, all the excuses I'd made. The pregnancy plans, the future baby room, the good taste. Every
Did you
lie
just
I'd
throw dirt
swallowed
at me?
had cost me thousands. By sunrise, I
Maybe.
had made a decision.
You
I
look
wasn't
too
going to be
serious.
the helpless old woman anymore. If Nora wanted to play games, I would play too, but smarter. The next morning, I transformed
As you can see
into
from
what I
these statements,
jokingly
the full
called
amount is
Detective
accessible
Emma.
immediately.
I put on my best grey
I had
coat,
no idea.
tucked my hair
This
into a
changes
neat bun,
everything.
and drove to the first
Emma,
store
your
on the
home is
statement
absolutely
list. I told the
stunning.
sales
I
clerk I
particularly
needed
adore the
warranty
moulding in the
information for my
entryway.
granddaughter's
Thank
purchase.
you, dear. Please
She
come
looked
in.
it up and smiled
Sweet
politely.
mommy.
Oh yes, I remember that woman, she said. Very stylish. She bought 2 identical
Thank you
sofas.
so much for having me over,
Said one
Emma.
was a
I brought
gift
the
for her
cookies.
mother-in-law.
Nora, honey, come
I
in.
stood
You are
there,
too
frozen,
sweet. I was just
pretending to
telling Sarah
nod.
the funniest story about work.
My mind raced. So that's the story she told them, that she was buying one for me. The same sofa she never once mentioned, never delivered,
Oh,
never
Emma,
even thanked me for.
darling, could I
I went
possibly
to 2
borrow
more
your
stores
card
that
just
day,
for a few
and the pattern was
essentials?
identical. 2 items each time, paid with my card. Sometimes she even added a little cash to cover the difference when the total went over the credit limit.
This spending has to stop. She is
Each
bankrupting the
confirmation
family
felt
with her
like a
shopping.
punch to the
Just
chest,
don't appreciate
but
quality,
also
Mother.
like
Nora
clarity
has
after
excellent
fog.
taste.
The pieces were finally fitting together. Nora wasn't careless. She was meticulous. She'd built a system around my trust. Later that week, Clara decided to dig deeper. Her niece worked part-time at a flea market on the other side of town. One Saturday afternoon, she called me breathless. Emma, you won't believe this. There's a woman
canceled your
here
card,
selling
Emma.
brand new furniture for half
You're
price.
going to regret crossing me.
Says her husband works in home design and that she always has extras. My heart stopped. What does she look like, I asked. The answer left no doubt.
This has gone on long
Long,
enough,
wavy
Mother.
hair,
You're just
expensive
jealous of her.
nails.
How dare you speak to me
Confident
this way?
smile. It was Nora. That Sunday, I went myself. I wore a plain hat and sunglasses like some kind of spy from an old movie. And there she was, standing behind a small stall, charming a couple into buying a glass dining table, the same one I'd seen on my statement for
Look at this, Nora.
$2,500.
It proves you've been diverting the funds
She
for
sold
months.
it for $1,200
Darling, I don't know what you're
cash
talking
only.
about. Are you feeling all right?
Her voice was calm,
I had hoped
confident,
these rumors
even
weren't
playful.
true, but the pictures don't lie.
It's imported from Italy, she told them.
Where did you get these?
My designer accidentally ordered 2. You're getting a steal. I stood there for nearly 2 hours pretending to browse. I watched her sell furniture, jewelry, even small appliances, each one bought with my money. She laughed, smiled, made up stories. And at the end of the day, she counted thick stacks of bills, slipped them into a gym bag, and walked away as if she owned the world. That image burned into my mind. The bright yellow dress she wore, the smug smile on her face, the ease with which she lied. It was then I understood she wasn't just a thief. She was a professional con artist. And I had been her perfect mark, a lonely widow with savings, a kind heart, and a son she could manipulate. When I got home, I opened a notebook and began documenting everything: dates, receipts, store names, descriptions, even the conversations I'd overheard. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was building a case. There's a saying my husband Richard used to tell me.
Am I speaking to the
You
owner of
can't
the
fix
house?
a leaky roof
I'm sorry,
by
who is
pretending it's
this?
not raining. He was right. For too long, I'd tried to hold my family together by ignoring the storm. But now I was ready to face it head on.
I
If
know what
anyone
you
out
did!
there has ever been betrayed by
How
someone
could you
you
lie
let
straight
too
to my
close,
face?
you'll understand this next part. The moment when hurt turns into focus, when fear becomes fuel. I wasn't powerless, I wasn't broken. And for the first time in a long while, I wasn't afraid of Nora. Evil doesn't always announce itself with a bang. Sometimes it knocks politely and smiles as it walks in. It was a Thursday evening when Nora showed up at my door. I remember because the sun was setting, spilling a soft gold across my kitchen floor. For a fleeting moment, she almost looked like the sweet girl I once believed she was. But when I opened the door wider, the look in her eyes told a different story. There was no warmth this time, no fake affection, no sugary, sweet mummy. Her lips were tight, her voice low, deliberate. "I think we need to talk," she said. She walked in without waiting for
Did
an
you just
invitation,
throw dirt
as if
at
the
me?
house already belonged to her. I didn't argue.
Maybe.
I just let her sit because
You
I
look
wanted
too
to see what
serious.
she'd do when the performance ended. For a few seconds, we sat in silence. The air between us felt sharp, heavy, with everything left
As you can see from
unsaid.
these statements, the full
Then
amount
she
is
leaned
accessible
forward, elbows on
immediately.
her knees, her tone
I
suddenly
had
colder.
no idea. This changes
"If you
everything.
don't stop this nonsense,"
Emma,
she
your
said,
home is absolutely
"I'll
stunning.
make sure
I
David believes
particularly
you've lost
adore
your
the molding
mind."
in the entryway.
Oh,
I
thank
stared
you,
at
dear.
her, not
Please
speaking,
come in.
not flinching.
Sweet mommy.
She took that as weakness. People like her always do. Her words sank in each one measured to
Thank
hit
you so
where
much
it
for
hurt
having me
most.
over, Emma. I brought the cookies.
She knew
Nora,
my son was
honey,
my
come
soft
in.
spot.
You are too sweet.
She
I
knew
was
that
just telling Sarah
threatening
the
to turn
funniest
him
story
against
about
me
work.
would cut deeper than any insult or theft. She wasn't shouting, she didn't need to. Her calm was worse than rage. It was the
Oh,
kind of
Emma.
confidence that comes from knowing you've already
Darling,
done
could I
damage.
possibly borrow your
I
card
can
just for a
fix all
few
this.
essentials?
She continued, crossing her legs and giving a small, smug smile. "Just give me access to the account again. Once I get the new card, we'll forget this ever happened.
This spending has to stop.
You'll
she
have
is
your peace
bankrupting
back.
the family with her
I'll
shopping.
make sure
Just
David
don't
visits
appreciate
you again."
quality, Mother.
Nora
It wasn't
has
an offer.
excellent taste.
It was blackmail wrapped in politeness. I looked down at my hands resting on the table. They weren't shaking anymore. Maybe that's what happens when you've cried all your tears, you just go quiet. Inside, though, something shifted. A stillness. A kind of focus I hadn't felt in years. "I need some time to think," I said softly.
I canceled your card, Emma.
Her eyes lit up,
You're going to
mistaking my
regret
calm for
crossing me.
surrender. "Of course," she said, her tone light again. "You're just tired, I understand. Let's not drag this out. Call me tomorrow. We'll sort everything out."
This has gone on long enough,
She
Mother.
stood up,
You're
adjusted
just
her coat,
jealous of her.
and
How
walked to
dare
the
you
door.
speak to me this way?
Before leaving, she turned and smiled a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You're smarter than people give you credit for, Emma. You'll make the right choice." When the door clicked shut behind her, I stood still for a long time. The house felt colder, emptier. But I wasn't scared.
Look at this,
I was
Nora.
done
It
being
proves
scared.
you've been diverting the funds for months.
I made myself a cup
Emma,
of tea and
darling,
sat back
I don't know
at the
what you're
table
talking
thinking
about. Are you
her
feeling all
words.
I had
Make
hoped these
David
rumors
believe
weren't
you're
true, but the
crazy.
pictures don't lie.
It echoed in my head like a challenge.
Where did you get these?
That's how manipulators operate. They isolate you, rewrite your story, twist every truth until even you start to doubt yourself. But she'd underestimated me. I'd spent decades as a seamstress, stitching fabric so precisely
He's
that
outside.
a single loose thread could ruin
Police,
the
search
whole
warrant.
pattern.
Get on the ground now.
And now I saw her for what she was, a tear in the fabric of my life. One I was finally ready to mend. If she wanted to play this game, she would play it. But this time, the rules would be mine. That night, I called Clara. I told her everything, every threat, every lie, every manipulation. Together, we decided to gather proof. Photos, receipts, messages. We weren't just going to stop Nora. We were going to expose her. You see, sometimes strength doesn't look like shouting or fighting back. Sometimes it's a quiet woman sitting alone at her kitchen table, planning her next move, while the kettle cools beside her. When I finally went to bed that night, I didn't
Hello?
feel weak. I felt
Am I
powerful.
speaking to the owner of the house?
I felt ready.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Because when someone tries to make you question your sanity, the most dangerous thing you can do is stay calm and remember exactly who you are.
I know what you did!
When you've spent your life sewing
How could you
tiny,
lie straight to
perfect
my
stitches,
face?
you learn one thing: every loose thread tells a story. And this time I was going to pull that thread until the whole lie unraveled. After Nora's visit, I spent a sleepless night planning my next move. Fear had burned away, replaced by something sharper focus. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a woman on a mission. The first step was simple: gather evidence. But I couldn't do it alone. So I called Clara, my neighbor and partner in courage. She'd seen Nora's games unfold from the sidelines for months. And when I told her what I was about to do, she didn't hesitate. About time that woman got what's coming to her, she said, her voice full of quiet fire. That Saturday, Clara headed to the flea market dressed like any other bargain hunter, baseball cap, tote bag, no makeup. She wandered the aisles until she found Nora at her usual booth, wearing one of her trademark silk
Did
dresses.
you just throw dirt at
and
me?
that smug smile that could fool anyone who didn't know better.
Maybe.
Hi there,
You look too
Clara
serious.
greeted casually, pretending to browse. Someone told me you sell top-quality furniture for good prices. Nora's eyes lit up
As you can
like
see
a
from these
performer
statements, the
stepping
full
onto
amount is
stage.
accessible
She
immediately.
launched into her sales pitch effortlessly.
I had no idea. This
Oh,
changes
yes,
everything.
everything's nearly new.
Emma, your home is
Imported
absolutely
pieces.
stunning.
Yeah.
I
I'm just
particularly adore the
redecorating.
molding in the entryway.
Clara
Oh,
nodded
thank
and
you,
started
dear.
filming
Please come
discreetly
in.
on her phone,
Sweet
capturing
mommy.
Nora's voice, her face, the cash-changing hands, the red leather sofa, the crystal chandelier, the same dining table
Thank you
I
so
had
much
paid
for having me over, Emma. I brought the
Piece by
cookies.
piece, her
Nora,
operation
honey,
was
come
documented,
in. You
the
are
whole
too
web
sweet.
of
I was just
deceit
telling
caught
Sarah
on
the
video.
funniest story about work.
While Clara kept her busy at the market, I took the riskier job. Using the spare key my son had given me months earlier, I quietly
Oh,
let myself
Emma.
into their house.
Darling, could
My
I possibly
hands
borrow
shook,
your
not from
card just for a
fear,
few essentials?
but from the weight of what I was about to confirm. The house looked nothing like the home that had supposedly swallowed up $40,000 in luxury furniture.
This
The
spending has
famous
to stop. She is
$3,000
bankrupting the
sofa
family with her
gone.
shopping.
You just
The
don't
imported
appreciate
dining
quality,
set
Mother.
gone.
Nora has
The
excellent
high-end
taste.
appliances she bragged about, replaced by cheap second-hand junk. I took photos of every room, each empty corner telling a story of theft and lies. Then in the bedroom closet, I found something worse. Hidden behind her designer clothes was a shoebox packed with cash, neatly stacked bills that must have totaled thousands. And tucked behind it, an old folder
I
filled
canceled
with
your card,
papers
Emma.
that chilled me to my core.
You're going to regret crossing me.
Names, addresses, notes. Each page listed older women in the neighborhood, widows, retirees, single mothers. Next to each name
This
were
has gone on
personal
long enough,
details,
Mother. You're
savings
just
amounts,
jealous of
health
her.
How
conditions,
dare you speak to me
family
this way?
situations. Next to mine, I read in her handwriting, Emma, sentimental, widowed, emotionally dependent on son approx. $120,000 in savings, easy to manipulate. I had to sit down. For a moment, I couldn't breathe.
Look at this, Nora. It
She hadn't
proves you've been
just
diverting the
targeted me.
funds for months.
She had a
Emma,
list of potential
darling, I
victims,
don't know what you're
like a
talking
criminal
about. Are you
filing
feeling all
system.
right?
And even worse,
I had hoped these
she'd been
rumors weren't
planning her
true,
next
but the
step
pictures
to have
don't
me
lie.
declared mentally unfit
Where
so
did
she
you
could
get
legally
these?
take control of my finances. She'd even researched early dementia symptoms, probably preparing her defense. I took photos of everything, every page, every name, every dollar in that box. By the time Clara came back, we had enough evidence to bury
He's
Nora's
outside.
lies for good. We
Police,
sat at my
search
kitchen
warrant. Get on the
table,
ground
surrounded
now.
by
Clear.
proof of her scam. It felt surreal, almost like we were detectives in a crime show. But this wasn't TV. This was my life. That night, we decided to end it. I called Nora and asked her to come over the next evening. I told her I'd been thinking about her proposal and that I wanted to talk in person. Her voice over the phone was smug, almost triumphant. "I knew you'd come around," she said. "You're doing the right thing, Emma. Let's keep the peace." The next evening, she arrived right on time, wearing a purple silk suit that shimmered under the porch light. She carried herself like someone walking into victory. "I'm glad you made the smart choice," she said as she stepped inside.
Hello?
I offered her tea,
Am I speaking to the
pretending to
owner of the
fidget
house?
like a nervous
I'm
old
sorry,
woman.
who is this?
Before we finalize things, I said I just need to be sure you'll keep your word. I don't want any more misunderstandings. She smiled that
I know what you
condescending
did!
smile again, the one that made
How
my
could you
skin
lie
crawl.
straight to my face?
Of course. You can trust me. I'm not like women of your generation who settle for little lives. I have ambition. Your money gives me the freedom I deserve. You should be proud of that. I nodded slowly, acting naive. And all those things you bought, the furniture, the tables, the sofas, you really needed all that. She waved a manicured hand dismissively. "Oh, I didn't keep everything. Sometimes I sell a few pieces to make extra cash. You were going to give me the money anyway, right? It's all the same." It was the confession I needed, every word as clear as a bell. I leaned forward, pretending to tremble. And if something ever happened to me, who would help David with the finances? She didn't even blink. "I've already talked to him about that. He understands that someone your age needs guidance.
Did you
Once
just
I get
throw
power
dirt
of
at me?
attorney, everything will be handled properly." The way she said it, so calm, so
look too
calculated,
serious.
made my stomach turn. She wasn't even afraid. She truly believed she'd already won. That's when I stood up and walked to the dining
As you
table
can see
where
from
I
these
had
statements,
carefully
the full
arranged
amount
all
is
the
accessible
evidence.
immediately.
I turned and looked her straight
I had
in the
no
eye.
idea. This changes everything.
"There's something I want to show
Emma,
you
your
before
home
I
is
make my final
absolutely
decision."
stunning.
Yeah.
I particularly adore
She
the
followed me
molding in the
confused but
entryway.
curious.
Thank you, dear.
Her
Please come
confidence
in.
faltered when I laid out
Sweet
the photos,
mommy.
pictures of her at the flea market, her empty house, the cash-filled shoebox, and finally the pages listing her victims.
Thank you so much for having me over,
For the
Emma. I
first
brought
time,
the
I saw
cookies.
fear
Nora,
flicker
honey,
across
come
her
in.
face.
You are too sweet. I was just telling Sarah the funniest story about work.
She demanded, her voice cracking. "Proof," I said quietly. "Proof of everything you've done."
Oh,
The
Emma.
colour drained from her face.
Darling, could I
The air
possibly borrow
between
your
us was
card
electric,
just for a few
pulsing
essentials?
with her panic and my calm. She stammered excuses, lies, half-truths. But the performance was over. Every mask she'd ever
This
worn
spending
had
has to
finally
stop.
shattered.
She is
I
bankrupting
watched
the family
her
with her
unravel
shopping.
right there
Just
in my
don't
kitchen,
appreciate
the
quality,
same
Mother.
room where she'd once
Nora has
called me
excellent
sweet mummy.
taste.
This time, there was no sweetness left. There's a kind of silence that comes before everything falls apart, the moment before the storm, when your heart knows it's too late to turn back. That's what filled my kitchen the night I called the police on my own daughter-in-law. Nora was pacing like a predator, circling me slowly, her mask gone. Her eyes were
I canceled
wild,
your card,
her
Emma.
voice sharp with fury and
You're
disbelief.
going to regret crossing me.
I'd just laid every piece of evidence in front of her photos receipts, recordings her notes about other victims. For the first time, she realized I had the upper hand. "You went into my
This
house."
has gone on long
she
enough,
hissed.
Mother.
You
You're
had no
just
right.
jealous of her.
How dare
I
you
stood my
speak to me
ground.
this way?
My voice was steady. "You know what's illegal Nora credit card fraud, money laundering, theft, manipulating a grieving son. You've been doing all of it for months." Her face twisted, the arrogance melting into rage. "You think anyone's going to believe you?
Look at this, Nora.
You're a lonely
it
old
proves
woman
you've been
losing
diverting
her
the funds
mind.
for months.
Emma,
I'll tell David
darling,
you
I
threatened
don't know what
me.
you're talking
He'll
about. Are you
believe me.
feeling all
He
right?
always does.
I had
I
hoped
took a
these
slow
rumors
breath,
weren't true, but the
forcing
pictures
myself to
don't
stay
lie.
calm. Then I guess
Where did
we'll
you
let
get
the police
these?
decide who's telling the truth. I reached for the phone, dialed the number and pressed the call button right in front of her. Emergency services.
Please help me.
What's your situation? The operator asked. Yes, I said clearly. I need
He's
to
outside.
report financial fraud and
Police,
theft.
search warrant.
The
Get on the
suspect is
ground
in
now.
my house
Clear.
right now. That was the moment everything broke. Nora lunged forward, her voice cracking into a scream. You can't do this to me. I made this family. I made your son happy. She ran toward the kitchen, and when she turned back, a glint of steel caught the light. A butcher knife. Put it down, Nora, I said. My heart pounding, but my voice even. You're only making this worse. She was shaking her face, streaked with tears and makeup. 3 years, she shouted. 3 years I spent building this life, putting up with your son's boring job, pretending to love this miserable family. You ruined everything I backed toward the door, praying the police would arrive before she did
Hello?
something irreversible.
Am I speaking to the owner of
Then
the
the
house?
pounding started.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Police opened the door. Nora froze her chest, heaving knife still raised. For a moment, I saw the war inside
I know what
her,
you did!
the panic.
How
the
could you
pride,
lie
the
straight to my
terror of
face?
losing control. And then in one last desperate move, she screamed, "She's lying." She set me up. The door burst open. 3 officers entered with weapons drawn, shouting commands. Drop the knife. Now she spun toward them, trembling. I'm not going to jail for this crazy old woman. One officer stepped closer, his voice firm but calm. Ma'am, put it down before someone gets hurt. Her hands shook, but her pride wouldn't let her surrender easily. You don't understand, she cried. This is all revenge. She hates me because her son loves me more. Her voice echoed through the house, raw and desperate. And then, like a curtain falling, it ended. She dropped the knife. The metallic clatter filled the room like thunder. The officers
Did you
moved
just throw
quickly,
dirt at
cuffing
me?
her hands behind her back. She struggled, screaming
Maybe.
until her voice broke.
You look too serious.
You'll die alone, Emma. You hear me alone. But for the first time in months, I felt peace.
As you
Not
can see from
triumph,
these statements, the
not
full amount
vengeance,
is accessible
just
immediately.
quiet relief.
I had no
Detective
idea.
Ryan,
This
a
changes
middle-aged
everything.
man with tired eyes,
Emma, your
arrived
home
shortly
is
after
absolutely
to review
stunning.
the evidence.
I particularly adore
I
the
handed
molding
him
in the
everything,
entryway.
photos of her
thank
selling
you, dear.
stolen
Please
furniture,
come
copies
in.
of her notes,
Sweet
and the videos
mommy.
Clara had recorded. He studied them in silence, nodding occasionally. Mrs. Bennett,
Thank you so much
he
for
said
having me
finally.
over, Emma. I brought the cookies.
This is
Nora,
one of the most
honey, come
detailed
in. You
fraud
are too
cases I've
sweet.
I was
seen.
just telling Sarah the
You've
funniest
done
story about
half
work.
our job for us. I laughed softly, though my voice shook. I guess being a seamstress all those years taught me how to pay attention to detail.
Oh,
He
Emma,
smiled kindly. She'll
darling,
face
could I
multiple
possibly
charges:
borrow your
fraud,
card
theft,
just for a
money
few
laundering,
essentials?
attempted assault. It's serious. I sat there as they led her out in handcuffs. She turned once before stepping into the police car, her eyes
This
burning
spending
with
has
hatred.
to stop. She is
But
bankrupting
this
the family
time
with
I
her
wasn't
shopping.
afraid.
Just don't appreciate
I
quality,
knew she
Mother.
couldn't hurt me
Nora
anymore.
has excellent taste.
An hour later, my son David burst through the door. His face was pale, his eyes wide with fury. Mum, what did you do? He shouted. The neighbors said police cars were here. They arrested Nora. How could you call the cops on your own family? I gestured toward the dining table, still covered in evidence.
I canceled your
Sit
card,
down,
Emma.
I said
You're
softly.
going to regret
You
crossing
need to
me.
see the truth for yourself. He shook his head, pacing. You're jealous of her. You've always been cold since Dad died. I can't believe this.
This
Sit
has gone on long enough, Mother.
down.
You're just jealous
My
of her.
tone
How
must have
dare
cut
you
through his
speak to me
anger
this
because he
way?
finally did. I slid the documents toward him one by one. The receipts, the photos, the recording things, the notebook from her closet. The longer he read, the quieter he became. I watched his face shift from defiance to confusion
Look at
to
this,
something
Nora.
far more
It
painful.
proves you've been diverting the funds for months.
Recognition.
Emma, darling,
His
I don't
voice
know what
trembled.
you're talking about. Are you feeling all right?
I had hoped
She
these
wrote
rumors
about
weren't
you
true,
like a
but the
mark.
pictures don't lie.
About other women.
Where
about
did you
me.
get these?
He swallowed hard. She didn't love me, did she? I shook my head. No, son. She used you.
Please help me. I need the police
But that
right
doesn't
away.
make you foolish. It makes you human. You trusted
He's
someone
outside.
who knew exactly how to break
Police,
your
search
heart.
warrant. Get on the ground now.
David buried his face in his hands. For the first time, he saw what I had seen all along. It was the hardest kind of pain, the kind that comes when love and truth collide. But in that moment, the wall between us finally cracked. He reached for my hand and whispered, "Mom, I'm so sorry." I squeezed his fingers gently. "We'll get through this, both of us." Outside, the flashing police lights faded down the street. Inside, for the first time in years, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders. The truth had cost us everything, but it had also given us back what mattered most. Not money,
Hello?
not reputation.
Am I
but
speaking to the
trust.
owner of the house?
I'm sorry,
And that
who is
night,
this?
as David sat beside me in silence, I realized something I'd forgotten long ago. Sometimes justice doesn't just punish the guilty. It
I know what
frees
you
the
did.
innocent.
How
The
could you lie
trial
straight
took
to my
6
face?
long months. But when the verdict finally came, it felt like the world exhaled with me. I sat in the front row of the courtroom, my coral dress neatly pressed, the same one I'd worn to Richard's funeral. Back then, it symbolized loss. This time, it meant resilience. Nora walked in wearing an orange prison uniform that swallowed her elegance whole. The woman who once strutted through malls with diamond handbags now looked small, hollow, and tired. Her once perfect hair was dull, her arrogance stripped away. Watching her like that, I felt not satisfaction, but something quieter, closure. The prosecutor read out the list of charges: credit card fraud, aggravated theft, money laundering, and attempted assault. The evidence we'd gathered spoke louder than any argument she could make. Videos of her selling stolen furniture, copies of her notes about
you
other
just throw
victims,
dirt at me?
and the recordings of her own confession.
Maybe.
All of it painted a picture even she
You look too
couldn't
serious.
deny. Her lawyer tried to twist the story, claiming desperation and childhood poverty drove her to crime. But the moment the
As you
jury
can see
heard
from
her
these
own
statements, the
voice
full
saying,
amount is accessible
"Your
immediately.
money gives me freedom,"
I had no
it was
idea.
over.
This changes
No
everything.
performance could save her
Emma,
now.
your home is
The
absolutely
verdict was
stunning.
swift.
I
Guilty
particularly
on
adore
all
the
counts.
molding in the
8
entryway.
years in
thank you,
federal
dear.
prison.
Please come in.
Restitution of
Sweet mommy.
$75,000. As the judge's gavel struck, I felt a wave of calm I hadn't known in years.
Thank you so much for having
Justice
me over,
didn't
Emma. I
erase
brought
the
the
pain,
cookies.
but it
Nora,
gave it
honey,
meaning.
come in. You are too sweet.
David
I was just
sat
telling Sarah
beside
the
me,
funniest story about
his
work.
hand trembling in mine. He had spent months in therapy trying to rebuild his sense of self. Manipulation leaves scars deeper than any wound.
Oh, Emma,
But he was learning to see clearly
darling,
again.
could I possibly borrow your
He
card
turned to
just
me
for a few
after the
essentials?
sentencing, his eyes red but steady. "Mom," he whispered, "I don't know how to make up for everything." I
This
smiled
spending
through
has to
tears.
stop. She
"You
is
already
bankrupting
are.
the family with her
You
shopping.
came back.
Just don't appreciate quality, Mother.
That night, we sat
Nora
on
has
my porch
excellent
as the
taste.
sun dipped behind the horizon, sipping coffee like we used to. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Sometimes healing doesn't come from words. It comes from sitting quietly beside the person who never stopped loving you. Months later, I decided to sell the house. Too many memories lived in its walls, the good and the haunting. I moved to a
canceled
small
your card,
coastal
Emma.
town 3 hours away,
You're going to
where
regret
morning
crossing me.
smelled like salt and renewal. It was peaceful, a place where the past couldn't find me. I started a small sewing class for retirees at the community center. The same hands
This
that
has
once
gone on
trembled
long
with
enough,
fear
Mother.
now
You're just
stitched
jealous
stories
of her.
survival
How dare you
into
speak to
fabric.
me this way?
My students, mostly widows and grandmothers, laughed as we talked about life, loss, and lessons. I told them what I had learned the hard way. Never let anyone manage your money in the name of love. Love doesn't need a credit card. Word spread. Soon
Look at
I
this,
was
Nora.
invited to give
It proves
talks
you've been
at senior
diverting the funds
centres
for
and
months.
local libraries.
Emma, darling, I
My
don't know what
first
you're
speech
talking
was
about. Are you
called,
feeling all
Don't
right?
let anyone hold your card
I
for
had
you.
hoped these rumors weren't true,
It
but the
wasn't
pictures
fancy.
don't lie.
But it was honest.
Where did you get
I
these?
shared how kindness can become a weapon in the wrong hands, how trust without boundaries can destroy lives. People came up to me afterward with tears in their eyes, thanking me for telling the story they were too afraid to share. That's when I realized
He's
what
outside.
had once been my shame
Police, search
was
warrant.
now
Get
my
on the
purpose.
ground now. Clear.
6 months after the sentencing, I received a letter from Nora. It was full of apologies and religious quotes claiming she'd found God and wanted forgiveness. She begged me to write to the judge for a lighter sentence. I didn't even open it all the way. Some letters don't need to be answered. I dropped it straight into the trash and went on with my day. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it simply means choosing peace over poison. Life now is slower, softer. I still think of Richard often. In my dreams, he's always smiling, always proud. The last time he appeared, he said, "You protected what we built, Emma. You turned pain into purpose."
Hello?
I woke up
Am I
crying,
speaking
but
to
it
the
was the
owner of
good
the
kind
house?
of tears,
I'm sorry,
the kind
who
that
is
remind
this?
you you've made it through. David visits every weekend. He helps me with groceries, fixes small things around the house, and listens to me ramble about
I
my
know what you
students.
did!
His laughter
How could you
sounds
lie
lighter
straight to
now.
my face?
He's even started dating again. A kind woman named Maricela, who treats him with kindness, not control. Sometimes when I watch them together, I think of how far we've come from that dark chapter. We both lost something, but we also found something stronger: clarity, courage, and each other. I've learned that survival isn't just about escaping danger. It's about reclaiming your dignity afterward. It's about turning scars into stories that help others heal. So if someone out there is reading this, wondering if it's too late to stand up for yourself, listen to me. It's never too late. You are never too old to start over. You are never too small to make noise. And you are never too broken to find peace again. Dignity doesn't age. Justice doesn't expire. And sometimes even after the longest storm, the
Did you just
sunrise
throw
comes
dirt at me?
brighter than you ever imagined.